Greetings, fellow classic TV fans, and welcome to the Golden Rage of TV Live. And let me get my wires straight. Let's not cross the wires, Will. It's great to be here. Great to be here with you guys. And guess what? This is a solo mission. I know I was just soloing my brains out on the guitar, but I can't hide behind that right now. So wish me luck. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite classic TV sci-fi shows. As you probably all know, it's going to be about Lost in Space. And boy, is there a lot to cover, which of course we won't be able to cover it all, but we'll get to the fun stuff. I'm going to see who's here though. Okay, who do I first see? Well, of course, the first person I see is Kenneth Wilkinson. I see you, Ken. Thrash Pondo, Gary Carpenter. Let's see, Kimberly Wiederhold. Hello there. Daily Dan, my buddy from North Carolina. And who else we got? Daryl Johnson's in the house. Let's see. Zoperplex. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Don Nichols, my buddy. I love you, man. Lance Chafin. I see you. I see you. Who else is here? Oh, I got to get good at this stuff. I got to get good at Karen Lee Maloney, my old friend. Thanks for coming. And let's see. Who else we got? I think that covers a good portion, and hopefully more will be joining as we go. But thanks for coming, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get to some comments and some question answer kind of stuff in this finally, rather than me just interviewing some strange celebrity. Fortunately, I haven't had any strange celebrities. They've all been just incredible, and I'm still working on possibly some more. So we'll see. But today is obviously about that one thing, Lost in Space, the original specifically. I put a little poll up on the channel where I asked what was the favorite theme song, because there was two of them, both by John Williams, and it was kind of an overwhelming response. I won't even tell you the percentages. It was the first one. And I totally understand that, because that was the first one I wanted to learn to play. That was the one I wanted to actually do a Golden Rage of TV guitar rock version of. And then I listened to it, just like I listened to the Jetsons, thinking I could do that too. No, I wasn't even going to attempt that. We're talking some real adult music here, folks. It makes sense. That's John Williams, right? But the second one, I realized, man, now that's much more fitting because it's rock and roll. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make it they wanted to be hip. They took that hip a little too far on the show, but I thought both themes were fantastic. And I may have been a little braver to try the first one, but there's a few notes there. I was like, man, I think I need like a whole woodwind section and some flutes and piccolos and strings, and I'm not going to be able to do that. No. So anyway, my first recollection of Lost in Space was, of course, that beginning, that theme song. Even funner was the animation that they had based on it. If you guys remember, it was the crew on that rope. And I always tried to figure out which character that was. Like they didn't show any faces and it was animated. So how could I figure out which character it was? It was very confusing. I could make out Will and Penny at the end, but that was even then I was like, what is this? What is this show? And I thought, man, I really like it. Even back then, just young enough to be scared to death by it. And people look at me and laugh. And it's like, you got scared by the original Lost in Space? Yes. And, folks, first of all, John Williams' soundtrack was so incredible. Not just the theme songs, but the interstitial music, as they call it, was just, there was never any better. None more better than Lost in Space, because it just captured the ferocity, the urgency, the weirdness. Oh man, just in my opinion, the best soundtrack of a classic television show ever. And go figure, John Williams. But yeah, I was amazed. I wasn't amazed. Actually, everybody picked the first one. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense. So let's see. I'm gonna make a point of not neglecting you guys here today. Let's see what we're talking about. And yes, there will be no Lawrence Welk tonight. I'm working on that. I'm definitely working on that. Yes, Kimberly, he certainly was. He was, John was, well, I think he's the most winningest composer of Academy Awards as it is. But let's just, let's be real. The list goes on, far beyond that television show. Let's see. Old Don Nicholas, he agrees with me that the early episodes were scary. I must admit I'm now going to admit before all of you, the first season was hands down my favorite. And there's a lot of reasons why, and there's a lot of reasons why the later seasons weren't. And I think most of you would be going, yeah, I get that. Because it just kind of got, well, let's not go there yet. Where it went was not how it started. No, how it started was just the most dramatic, well-written. I mean, let's see, when did it start? Yes, it was then. Now, this is only 26 years ago. Wait a minute, I'm having a time problem here. Oh gosh, okay. My time problem is how to get rid of that. Oh, good. They were thinking future, and the future for them was, of course, 1997, and that wasn't really all that accurate. But it was definitely, I saw that trend with a lot of classic TV shows where maybe it's just the way this guy did his math, the great Irwin Allen, of course. I think a lot of shows that were futuristic kind of missed the mark by a few dozen years every now and then with these shows. But again, that first season, the first season, especially the first two episodes, it was as though I was watching what would become a great Irwin Allen movie, The Master of Disaster. It had all of them in there. Of course, it was influenced by Swiss Family Robinson. I say that? Swiss Family Robinson. Or in this case, Space Family Robinson, which was a whole other entity, but at least I'm pronouncing that one correct. But the really stark contrast between this first season and the later ones was, of course, this guy. This guy was not this guy. And I'm sure most of you know that there was a metamorphosis that occurred. Even though you got something perfect, I suppose the idea is that even though it's perfect, let's try to make it better. And I don't know. I think, and sometimes you over try to work something. And hey, look who's in the house. Mr. Dave Sundstrom. He just gets to watch tonight rather than being my Mr. Administrator. I got my son doing that tonight, by the way, Devin. Thanks, Devin, by the way. That's Devin. And let's see. I don't want to neglect what you guys are saying here. See, what does Alfred say? Musically, season 2 theme is better. Wow. Nostalgically and mood-wise, season 1 was better. Yeah, it's played before my spot on BK on the Air every weekend, if you guys have tuned into that. And every time I heard it, I'm like, man, there's just nothing better than that. I mean, where did he come up with those notes? And how did he just not care? It wasn't about the notes. It was like, I'm just going to create a feeling, and boy, did he do it well. Oh my gosh. So let's see. The first season, of course, had the evil Dr. Smith. And yeah, he was a really bad guy, really smart guy too, cunning, sly, all of kind of like the opposite of what he ended up becoming in the later shows. But that worked, as many of us know. It really did. It was one of those things that took the. I got to get better with my comments here, folks. Sorry, excuse me for that. Okay, look, that's the one. This one. Thank you. The show again. It kind of was like we got to keep changing it. It's got to get better. Quite frankly, I'm pretty sure I know what caused the sudden change with Lost in Space, and that was, as many of you also know, the success of Batman. And Batman with its hyper color. And of course, I think Irwin Allen was like, well, I'm pretty original, but I'm also gonna borrow ideas and make things hyper colored. And this was a perfect example of how the crew started off. They may have actually had these costumes during the black and white shows, but yep, it was all thanks to Batman. Yeah, gotta love it. So let me just see. The other thing that I was very drawn to when I first saw the show was this guy, Robot B9. Yeah, who would have thought that this guy who was villainous during the beginning would end up being such a pussycat and main player on the show. But, that was, again, I don't think even the guy who voiced him knew that he was going to be the main, one of the main characters. But to explain a little bit more about that, let's hear from this guy.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. From 1965 to 68, Dick Tufeld shared the role of the robot with the man inside the machine, Bob May. Tufeld did the voice acting, ultimately becoming one of the main characters on Lost in Space. In the 1950s, Dick's voice talents were used on radio shows such as The Amazing Mr. Malone and Space Patrol. He also provided narration on some Disney TV shows, including Zorro, starring his future co-star, Guy Williams. But as Robot B9, Tufeld's voice hit legendary pop culture status. In his initial audition, he assumed Irwin Allen wanted something mechanical and robotian. Allen said no, as a product of an advanced civilization, it should be more low-key and cultured. Can you imagine that? Danger, Will Robinson, danger. But Tufeld, with all his efforts, just couldn't get it. Allen thanked him, said, I have to keep looking, but you can still be the narrator. Well, Dick tried it one last time his way. Danger, warning, does not compute. To which Allen replied, my God, that's it. What took you so long?
Yeah. Can you imagine a gentleman's voice? I don't think that would have lasted much through the, I don't think that would have lasted. Because obviously he was supposed to be really scary. And of course he was very monotonous in the first episodes. And then of course, why not? Let's give him a bit of a personality. I mean, that just came with the sun. That came with the show. Let's see, what's Dave say? The show became more campy when Batmania took effect. And yeah, I don't know if it was actually the storylines that were campy as much as just the way they wanted to make it look. Then by the third season, yes, Dave, it was hyper campy. Oh, here's a tough one. What was my favorite episode of Lost in Space? My favorite episode. Simply put, the first two, the part one and part two. And I think the second one was called The Derelict. I should know this, but to me, those were, I was like, well, I hope it gets better from here. Of course, there was this one that Dave remembers, The Great Vegetable Rebellion. No. Matter of fact, I have a blooper reel on my channel where I try to say The Great Vegetable Rebellion. I seem to be much better at it right now. I don't know why or how that is, but it's kind of a tongue twister. Or is tongue twister a tongue twister? I don't know. Let's see. What else are we talking about? Gary Carpenter says, Danger, Will Robinson. I am of the belief that the robot actually never said that. Instead, it was just warning Will Robinson. And I hope I'm right about that. I don't even think he actually said Will Robinson. But again, maybe I'm wrong there. Please feel free to correct me, folks. I really I appreciate that. And Nobody's correcting me. I must have everything right. No. But I am soloing it, so I guess I get to kind of be the guy that kind of decides that I'm getting everything right. Let's look at some more pictures here. I wanted to show you a bit of a show and tell item, if you don't mind, and that is this. One of my prized possessions, of course, I got from Angela and Will at an autograph show, and it's personalized, so I'm happy with that. Not worth anything when it's personalized, but I still appreciated it. Yes, that reminds me. That reminds me of something I wanted to make you guys aware of early on. I discovered a Twitter channel, or Twitter feed, as if you call it, called @OnlyAngie. Well, that's the handle, @OnlyAngie. And if you guys are on Twitter, I highly recommend that you follow this person, because I think when I see the name Angie, I'm thinking it's a girl, but I really don't know. But some of the posts that they put up are astonishing, because there's a lot of behind the scenes scenes pics that you never even knew existed, let alone were that clear. So all the pictures are usually high quality, and there's usually some new Lost in Space, artwork. And she covers a lot of whoever they are, cover a lot of ground. And so follow these people. They're worth it. I don't think they know I'm saying this, but it's just the truth. So wanted to bring that up because that was important to me. Let's see, what do we got here? The monsters. The monsters for me were some of the scariest. I don't know. I mean, I also like the monsters pardon me, I'm a little hoarse today. Didn't sleep much last night. Why do people think 3 a.m. is a good idea or a good time to set off fireworks? That's my question for the night. I don't even remember what I was talking about. The robot, hippie, creatures, monsters. Yes, I saw creatures and monsters last night in my dreams. And yes, I used to have nightmares about Lost in Space monsters and, of course, Outer Limits. They were really scary. I mean, I was surprised at just how, well, I wasn't surprised because I really didn't know what went into it, but looking back at the show in retrospect, which a lot of us do, you guys got to agree with me. A good portion of the monsters were really scary. Yes, there were some that were really not scary. I mean, like embarrassingly not scary. Here's a great example. Well, the episode with the space bikers. See, again, that's kind of where they're starting to get kind of off the mark. And what was the one with there was an alien with a giant frog head. I liked him very much. But again, it seemed like they were just pulling out all the stops to try to create different monsters for these shows. And, you got to appreciate that because that was part of the entertainment. But what really got me about these monsters, and I think you guys would agree, were the sound effects. So again, along with this incredible soundtrack, the music that gave you that full-on, this is really scary effect, you had some of the most chilling monster calls. I call it monster calls. Matter of fact, that reminds me of something that I can show you. Well, I can't show you right now because I'm still soloing here. But there's a little bit more on the monsters. Not the monsters. By the way, folks, the monsters 53-second trailer dropped today. If you haven't seen it, look it up. At first sight, I'm thinking it's going to be pretty good. PG? Okay, let's go with PG. Probably sell a lot more tickets that way, Rob. But it looked pretty cute. And I'll put it as in cute. So check that out. Speaking of monsters,
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. The original Lost in Space utilized many scary alien monsters. Although a few were a bit on the cheesy side, many were quite well designed and downright terrifying. Their eerie sound effects, screams, and howls had a strong impact when mixed with the intense musical soundtrack of the great John Williams. That certain ones really spooked me as a young viewer, so here I've assembled my top 5 scariest ever. Number 5 was the Mossman creature with the glowing amber eyes from episode 36, titled The Android Machine. At number 4 was that two-headed seaweed monster from episode 12, The Raft. It was just perfectly alien. Number 3 was that menacing robotic crab-like thing from episode 10, entitled The Sky is Falling, oddly reminiscent of a canister vac. Number 2 was the green monster from episode 41 called A Visit to Hades. Tim Burton may have been inspired for his Mars Attacks aliens by this guy, but my number 1 scariest was that menacing mummy-like creature from episode 11, Wish Upon a Star. Dr. Smith got much more than he wished for on this one. Its featureless face and muffled moans were truly frightening. Well, as for Lost in Space, those are my top 5 scariest creatures. Let me know if you agree or disagree.
Well, I know you agree, but of course there were there were plenty, and there were plenty of those shows. I was amazed in watching it watching it on replay on the Sci-Fi Channel, just how many episodes I had actually missed during the first run. But again, you know, that's the beauty of watching these reruns. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Oh yeah, I remember hating that one. Oh yeah, I love that one. You know, it was kind of like that. But if it was any episode during the first season, I was all in. See, Zoperplex says the Cyclops, the first monster. Yeah, I tried to find a picture of that feller, as Dave would say, and you know, it's pretty interesting searching for good pictures on the internet. Sometimes they just come right to you, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's blurry or just not worth putting out there. Okay, do we have an answer? We do have an answer. This guy, see, if I don't put him to work just watching for the trolls for me, he comes up with this incredible information. And there you have it. Once. Well, so I had it wrong. I always thought it was just warning, but yeah, you know, I act like I'm a pro. Matter of fact, I want to be a pro. Athena, the woman from the green mist. Yes, she was quite beautiful. She had the half a fish tank on top of her head, right? Yeah, I remember her. She would call out. She was in love with Dr. Smith, of course. Who wouldn't be? I mean, who wouldn't be? But again, I think that was the first show where I actually was like, wow, I kind of like girls. And I was really young too, so it was like, this is stirring some feelings in me. This Lost in Space. Thank you, Lost in Space, for stirring feelings. But clearly, I'm soloing. What else did I like about the early? Oh, here's one of those back behind the scenes shots I was telling you about. And this is, of course, the space pirate. What was his name again, folks? Somebody's got to remind me what that guy's name was. And I got to get that comment down because I'm still trying to get good at this. Okay, what was his name, folks? Arr, me will. You remember he was in so many other shows too. And I know somebody's going to tell me any second here. What do we got? Let's see. Dr. Smith letting all the keepers. Oh yeah, that was great. The keeper. God, that gentleman's name I should know too. But of course, I know what movie made him famous, The Day the Earth Stood Still. And of course, they had a lot of guest stars on that show. Matter of fact, I'm kind of curious, folks, do you remember the guest stars or a specific guest star that was your favorite? I do. And I'm going to reveal that. But you got to wait a second. It's important that you let me do this because, you know, I've seen from other people's streams, this is entertainment.
Now try this new way to accent your figure. Cross your heart, see? You're suddenly shapelier. Well, that's what this new Playtex Fashion Magic cotton bra does. It crosses your heart with stretch to lift and separate. You're suddenly shapelier. This cross-your-heart shaping is only on Playtex regular Fashion Magic bras and new long-line styles. Cross your heart. You'll be shapelier, honestly. And here's news about girdles.
Announcing a comfortable way to look 5 pounds thinner. The new 5 pounds thinner girdle by Playtex. Prove it yourself. Fingertips so. Press in. See? The new Playtex girdle has fingertip panels to hold you in firmly. Yet it's so different. Feels like nothing you've ever felt before. Look 5 pounds thinner without losing a pound. In the new 5 pounds thinner girdle by Playtex.
This is my family album. And this is my brother Harpo. He's always chasing the girls. But for no more, now he's a telling the girls about creamy prom. Because prom home permanent is awaiting cream. Leaves your hair soft like a silk. Look at the way the waver, she's a bounce back every time. Hey, lady, wouldn't you like your wave behavior like this? You'll get a creamy prom. Right, Harpo?
Excuse me.
Yes,
Excuse me. What's new in cat food?
today's your lucky day. We just got in these new Puss in Boots flavor packs. The latest thing in dry cat food. Flavor packs come 8 to a box, and every pack's a measured meal. So every time you eat, you get everything you need, all your vitamins. It's a complete diet in just the right amount.
Very convenient. But why do they call them flavor packs?
Each meal is sealed. They taste great because the flavor can't escape. Here.
You know, that's great. I'll take it. A tasty, dry cat food. That's what I've been looking for.
Every cat comes in here switching to flavor packs. Well, after all, who knows more about cats than Puss in Boots?
Snap, what a happy sound. Snap is the happiest sound I've found. You may clap, rap, tap, slap, but snap makes the world go round. Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies. I say it's crackle, the crispy sound. You gotta have crackle or the clock's not wound. Geese cackle, feathers tickle, bells buckle, beats pickle, but crackle makes the world go round. Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies. I insist that pop's the sound. The best is missed unless pop's around. You can't stop hopping, the cereal's popping. Pop makes the world go round. Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies. Let's go for Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Snap, it's crackle, what a happy sound. You gotta have crackle or the clock's not bound. You can't stop hopping, the cereal's popping. Snap, crackle, pop makes the world go round.
Gotta love that old stuff. Really bizarre. But I thought I'd throw that in there. I needed a nap anyway, so we got an answer as far as who the space pirate was. Thanks, Alfred. It was Albert Salmi, of course. And I know he'd done a lot. And of course, good old Thrash Pondo informed me that it was Michael Rennie. Yes, as the keeper. Klaatu Verata Nikto, by the way. Nikto. That makes a difference. You got to say Nikto or he destroys the entire Earth. Anyway, what do we got here? So what are we talking about, folks? Are we talking about how funny I am or how weird I am doing my own podcast for my own stream podcast? That may happen. We shall see. I'm looking for some good starred stuff. Come on, Devin, where are you? Well, maybe I'll just dive right into this. Some pictures. I have some fun pictures. I had fun pictures. Oh, yeah. So here's a shot of me and Will Robinson. Yes, the Billy Mooney. What a sweet guy. I got to tell you, he's a musician too. So we had a few things to talk about. And of course, I told him how much I really loved and how much I was influenced by his hit song Fish Heads. which if you haven't heard that one, folks, you really must. It was a Dr. Demento favorite. And it was kind of like, wow, this guy is really unique. He can also be really, really unique. That's a very strange song, to put it mildly. But one of the things that I also liked about the show was the sets. I mean, let's face it, even though Irwin Allen is kind of a renowned penny pincher, don't take that the wrong way. And I got to say it the right way. Penny pincher. He did not want to give up the quality. He didn't want to sell out on the quality. And I think that was the case with all of his shows, really. You know, he took it to the point where he hit the budget roof and, of course, wanted to keep making them better and bigger. And, you know, of course, he was going to just move to the movies at that point, you know, with his master of disaster films. But the sets, I thought the spaceships, all the different, God, the amount of work, you know, Star Trek is, to me, is number one when it comes to set up and the amount of effort that they went in to create these planets. But, you know, it's funny, Lost in Space did it in black and white and made it totally work. I think color actually dissuaded a bit from the mystery of the planets. Matter of fact, one of my favorite scenes is of the Jupiter 2 coming in for that hard landing. And of course, that sound was incredible too. But, you know, they got everything looking so realistic for a TV show that, you know, it really bridged the gap between, you know, adult viewers and, of course, as they went on, kid viewers. And again, that was why, as Jonathan Harris said, he came up with this new over-the-top character. It was because Irwin Allen said, we're playing for the kiddies. And what they want is silliness and, you know, someone to mock or hate or whatever, however you felt about Dr. Smith. That was what caused that shift to happen. And what it also did was it made Jonathan Harris, the special guest star, the star. That's debatable, of course, right? I mean, it was really these two, or if you want to add this guy, it would be those three that became the main focal points for all the shows towards the end. And, you know, that was kind of tough, not only for the other actors, but specifically for Guy Williams. Excuse me while I do this. I should have ran the commercial. He was under the impression he was going to be the star. And he came right off of Zorro thinking, great, I'm it. This is it. This is my show. And they gave him that impression. Unfortunately, as time went on, with Jonathan Harris overacting and creating this zany character, it totally worked. And I saw an interview with Harris where he said, you know, one of the biggest regrets that I have was walking up to Guy Williams and telling him, I'm sorry. Meaning, I'm sorry that this happened to you and, you know, you had hoped that, you know, you were going to have a better experience. And here I just stole your show. So I guess that was the wrong thing to do because he felt regret for that years afterwards, because it was basically him going up and saying, thanks, Guy, I stole your show. When he meant it the complete opposite. You know, I'm sorry I stole your show. I don't know how you get past that. That's some tough stuff, you know. But again, Guy Williams, from all reports, handled it like a pro, as you know, or as John Robinson would be. Now, the favorite character or the favorite guest star for me was Kurt Russell. When he had to do the challenge with Will Robinson and, you know, go through all the tests of becoming, you know, the rites of passage and all of that. And of course, it was life and death. It had to be. But that was my favorite guest star. I hadn't actually watched that episode recently, but yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Soperplex asks me a question. Judy or Penny? Well, I would say Penny. Angela Cartwright is beautiful. But then again, based on this picture, did I show you guys this picture yet? No, I don't think so. I have to say that the lovely lady to my right was as beautiful as when she was on the show. I just was shocked at how gorgeous she was. And of course, Angela too. But, she's getting on in years, and yet, man, such beauty. Undeniable. Okay, so let's see. What was the next question? Well, here's a good one. Here's a great one. Do I take allergy pills? The answer is yes, especially where I'm at, because it's very allergic here. And am I taking them right now? I don't know. Do I look kind of loopy? No. No, I'm not on allergy pills, no matter what they say. It's all lies. What's Emily Miller saying? Hi, Emily. You would be angry and mean to Smith, too. I thought I read it wrong for a second. I'd be angry and mean like Smith, but that was the first season. So, yes, he was such a character. And those guys really played off each other really well. Now, you know who the best buddies were on the show? And again, I'm going off of just research. A lot of this is don't quote me, but it has been said that it was Mark Goddard and Will Robinson, Bill Mooney. They were the best buds. And it's kind of funny because you think about it, they're quite a difference in age there. But there's some great stories about them pulling pranks on people and just the hijinks of their escapades on set. Speaking of an escapade, one that I thought was really classy, and that was that Jonathan Harris was notorious for bringing lollipops on the set every time they shot, and passing them out and putting everybody in a good mood. I know it put me in a good mood. I could use a lollipop right now. Actually, the allergy pills are drying my voice up quite badly. Let's see. There's my buddy Tom McCleskey. What are you saying? If you killed off Smith, the show would be over. And I think that's true. And even with the later version, I mean, I made it through one season. I keep hearing it's worth it. You just got to stick up. You got to stick to it. Where I fell off on the newest version was, I can even remember the episode. It was the second season where they played Space Cowboy by Steve Miller. And it just seemed like everybody at that point had just kind of thrown the towel in, and they were just trying to come up with cutesy stuff. My understanding is that it picked up again after that. So I kind of bailed early, and I kind of feel bad about it. So I'm definitely going to give that another try. Absolutely. Let's see, what else are we talking about here? Thanks, everybody. I see how many of you here, and it's really great. I sure appreciate you joining me. And let's see, what do we got here? Oh, yes. Well, the feature film, Dave, that was good. I didn't even click that. Maybe that was my son. Maybe Dave actually does know how to get in the back door of this thing. Anyway, the feature film I thought was pretty good. Gary Oldman is one of my favorite actors, so it was easy for me to think that. And it had a beginning and it had an end, and it was like, okay, with of course major time warps going on, but I thought it was pretty smart. I don't think it got very good reviews. Matt LeBlanc wasn't even bad, I thought. And the robot was good. It was a good version of the robot. So I gave that one a 2 thumbs up. Or was it kind of like a split decision? Siskel and Ebert's split decision. And then, of course, I was talking about the Netflix series, which I said again, I got to give it another chance. I heard my colleague Alan Sanders on BK on the Air talking about how great it was, and I trust his opinion. BK, I'm not so sure, but Alan for sure. Just kidding, Mary. Just kidding. So yeah, I'm going to give that another shot. I, of course, am engrossed in Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. Who isn't? And it's just great. There's some great television. There's some great TV out there. You know what I just watched was Pistols, folks. If it's the story of the Sex Pistols, I thought it was done really well. And I'm kind of picky when it comes to rock docs. And this captured it, I think. You know, even though they weren't dead ringers for the Sex Pistols, these guys certainly took on their personas as good as you could ever dream. And then seeing the little side story that I was not aware of another immensely popular female musician coming up alongside them and being friends to all of them, which I'm not going to give it up. I'll let you guys check that out. But I give that a thumbs up. I really, really do. And let's see, what else do we got here? I'm going through all the other ones that I missed. Well, I didn't miss any. You guys talking to each other. Well, what about these Lost in Space episodes? I'm curious. Do I have fans here that know the episodes by name? Of course, The Great Vegetable Rebellion is an easy one to remember, but you know, that's one of those things where I should just write down a bunch of titles for these, and then I can sound like I really know what I'm talking about. And granted, I was that much of a fan, only I wasn't that much of a fan. I mean, if anybody that actually sits there and knows every episode title, you should be definitely sitting here rather than me sitting. Are you sitting out there? Speaking of which, I wanted to tell you about here. That was another thing I was going to do and didn't. This is my studio. Behind me is my little green screen where I've done all my retro TV trivia episodes. It's my control room. It's my what was the term that they used on Lost in Space for the control? Alpha Control and Alpha Centauri. Am I right? Well, anyway, I'm sure you guys will fix that for me. But this is where I do all my work. And what you saw in the beginning, if folks were here in the beginning, me showing off some hard rock guitar, I did standing right where I'm sitting, only facing that way. So I'm working with some multiple camera angles these days, or I was, or have been, but this is where I've created all my music as well. If you go to my music tracks, this right here, sitting right here, that was this, I did it all right here. And I just wish my ears had survived. Worth every second, I will say. I would do it all again. I really would. Oh, let's see. What's Daily Dan got to say here? Back in the day, we had things called black and white TVs. I actually had one when I was a kid. Ever see Star Trek in black and white? Now that's interesting. Because, you know, Dan, to me, one of the greatest things about Star Trek is the massive amounts of color that are used. And I think that would be pretty cool because I kind of want to know if it would have the same effect on me. Who else has seen Star Trek in black and white? I mean, I know black and white TVs were still being sold for quite a while, so it wouldn't be something that would be too far-fetched. Okay, let's see. What are we looking at here? Yes, crush, kill, destroy. That was it. Was that the line, Steve? The crush, kill, destroy in the first episode? Or was that from the film? And I'm not sure if that changed much, but yes, of course, that was the one. Programmed. I always jokingly say that he would say the circuits are activated or anti-explosive circuits. Anyway, whenever I get my technical help on my computers or anything else, I always, when I'm getting walked through the stuff, I say to the person helping me, it just came up with a sign that said auto destruct sequence activated take shelter. And you wouldn't believe how many of these people say, oh, it shouldn't say that. Seriously, in a serious kind of way. And one time I said, I'm kidding. Take cover. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Not in my country, sir, was the response. I was like, oh, sorry. I suppose, yeah. Okay. Let's take it here. Okay, Zoberplex asks, Pat, was Billy let's get it right. Moomy, not mummy. Oh, the poor guy. I wonder how long he had to struggle with that. But it's Billy Moomy, as grounded as he appears in interviews. And the answer is yes. It's extremely down to earth. Like I said, he talked to me for a good 10 minutes about music. And I told him what I did. And I was like, I got to send you this version of Lost in Space that I did. I did. I never heard from him. But again, his style of music is very different. It's very folk rock type and vocal. And I'm not. You can hear why I'm not vocal. I was, but my voice is getting old too. So, yeah, I don't know if it gravitated. That's a pun. I don't know if it gravitated with him. Let's see. Oh, Tom, the IDAC. I remember that was his. Was that his line? The silver guy with the Superman. He had a Superman cape, if I recall. Yeah, it was great. I mean, again, the robot itself, developed by Robert Kinoshita. And how cool was it that they brought Robbie the robot, his other creation, on the show? I mean, that was fantastic. Fantastic stuff. What do we got here? Daryl says, Dr. Smith's whining, oh, the pain, the pain, will become the second most popular catchphrase on the series. Yes. Yes. And of course, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger. But yes, oh, the pain. And of course, there were all of the, what's the term for all the things that he called the robot, which, by the way, bubble-headed boobies. Sorry. He actually wrote, he came up with those cantankerous, carnivorous, cacophonious can of circuits. Hey, I made that one up. But he made those up. And I thought that was brilliant. It just gave him that extra, that angst that made you just want to hate him, because everybody loved the poor robot, right? Poor guy. Yeah. Let's see. So what else are we talking about here? I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the right feeds. And yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Robbie. Here's Gary Carpenter talking about Robbie. And of course, he was in The Forbidden Planet. As a matter of fact, I probably should have had this episode, Retro TV Trivia episode, up during the, let's see if I can remember now, third season of Retro TV Trivia. I did a whole episode on Robbie the Robot, and the fact that he had been on so many classic TV shows, it was shocking. And even with all the ones that I named, which, I could try to go through right now, but I wouldn't do it justice. I still discovered shows that he was on. So he became a lot more famous than Robot B9, that's for sure. But I think that's it, guys. For me, B9 was cooler than Robbie. Just because, just the accordion arms and the legs that sometimes walked and sometimes rolled, and, just of course, his attitude. I loved his attitude. Much funnier than Robbie the Robot, I discovered. Absolutely. Oh, let's see. What's this? Okay. Gary Carpenter, you're talking about very nice artwork. I like the lights. I would assume you're talking about Lost in Space. And of course, I would say the same thing about Star Trek. I mean, it just was, to me, it was the best. Let's see. What else do we got? What other kind of fun stuff are we talking here? Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting. Zoperplex says, do you recall the episode with Sherry Jackson? And that was when they were, how did they come up with this stuff? Where they were hillbillies, right? And they were hillbillies, but they were actually all werewolves. And yeah, I think that was during the black and white season. And I thought that was pretty cool. It just gave you an idea of just how crazy this show is going to be. And I, again, don't recall the name of that, Dave. I just had to throw that out there. Let's see. Sin City Jim says Major Don West was always angry and mean to Smith. In general, he was always crabby. Yeah, I think it really made West angry that it was due to Dr. Smith that they were hopelessly lost in space. I think that kind of put a wedge between them. But there was one episode. I can't remember what episode. See, I am not an expert really on this, but I remember them all, so I can kind of act like one. And it was when they were stuck in a cave together, and they made friends, or claimed to each other that they thought of each other as friends. I thought it was so beautiful. But I'm over it. Yes. What do we got here? Hungry Jerk. Tom McGlissy is saying the spaceship was originally Gemini 12. I never heard that. I heard it was Jupiter 1. Well, there had to be a Jupiter 1, right? Mm-hmm. But Gemini 12, that's news to me, Tom. I like it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to have you people teach me stuff. Teach me. Well, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, here's a question. Oh, that's the question I already asked. Let's see what I'm doing. Thanks for having patience with me, folks. This is new for me, trying to be ambidextrous. And I was like, old Steve. That is Steve, right? Life and Sand Ending, who I'm a huge fan of. But yes, I would get excited when they finally got off a planet. And how cool was that? They could just change the whole feel of the show by going to a different planet. And then they'd set up shop and stay there for like 30 episodes. But again, gave them an opportunity to not spend too much money. I think it cost them a lot to launch the Jupiter. Probably a lot to consider making separate spaceships for all the aliens too, because if, I'm sure a lot of you will recall, most of the spaceships had the same look whenever they took off, because it was the same ship. Even though it wasn't the same ship that was on the planet, it was the same ship that was taken off when it was leaving the planet. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Irwin got away with it. I just thought that was pretty cool. Look what Emily says. Everybody hit that thumb, that up thumb. Yes, please hit the up thumb. It'd be great. I appreciate all of it. Matter of fact, I should do a little selfless promotion here. I don't usually front load, as you guys have noticed in my videos. It's just not something I do. I probably should have, but as it stands, this is my style. And now I'm just going to let this ticker tape thing run forever. Because as we kind of wind down here, folks, because I can feel my voice probably isn't going to last much longer, I'm going to make a little bit of an appeal to you. I am not going to stop what I'm doing. It gives me purpose, and I take great enjoyment in what I'm doing. But I've done a lot. I've done a lot of it for quite a while. And one thing that is missing is morale. I can self-generate that, and I do pretty well with it. I've had to, being a musician. You got to put the time in. But on YouTube, what gives you that morale is subscribers. And I'm kind of woefully low there. I'm not woefully low, but by my estimation, I need probably twice what I have to even begin to consider looking at monetization, where, you guys can hit me up for super chats. The millions of super chats that I know you're dying to give me right now, you could be giving that to me. But the point is, it all comes with subscriptions, which are, as you guys know, that's no obligation. But I know these folks. I know you all, and I know you're mostly Dave's fans, that you've you've latched on to what I do, and I so appreciate you all so much. I kind of hate asking this one last favor, but tell 3 friends to just get on and go to the Golden Rage of TV and subscribe, because it will build my morale. And you kind of need that for this. You totally need that, to be honest. I can self-generate it pretty good, but it's as my dad said, always ask for help. Everybody needs it. And so I just kind of did. Anyway, well, my friends, I'm going to start wrapping up here. I wanted to again thank you all for coming and enjoying what I did here with this Lost in Space episode. I've got another guest that I'm working on to do an interview with, probably a couple weeks down the road. So I'll be doing these two because I obviously just got to get better at them. But for now, again, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And we'll see you soon. Okay? Okay. Hit the right button, Pat. And you got to hit it twice. Ready?